Ted Lasso is when you got fired from your job, you come home and your dog realizes how sad you are and just wants to cuddle all night long.
You know that's really messed up what you just said right now, right? There's two people who are literally fired from their job, Simon.
Oh man, Ted Lasso understands the insensitivity of some people and just realize, hey, that's life, and we just got to go with it.
Wow. I can't wait, Simon, for you to lose your dead end, not growing, out of pretty soon out of work job where robots will be able to do what you do and send it to them the same day within hours compared to you guys having to do it within days because of human error.
So
And the
that's
amount of human error
basically
that happens at your company,
that
it
sounds
just blows my mind that you
basically
guys are still around.
that's basically Coruscant right there. So
That's a nice
I'm looking.
segue,
I guess.
Simon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice,
There
nice
you go.
segue.
I'm looking forward to that. I guess.
Are we officially beginning? I'm already recording, actually. I've been recording
Oh,
this whole time.
nice.
Are we officially beginning the...
Yes. Do
Let's
it.
start it. Yeah.
Should I play the music? Are we going?
Play the music. Play the damn music. Well, today is a very special episode of Mandalorian episode 3. Our takes on it. I'll go first. I enjoyed the first 15 minutes of it and got bored about the scientist and the ex-Imperial communication officer. And I think if they didn't start off so fast-paced and so strong, I would have been fine with it. But I expected so much more after that. It was like, nee, and then just dropped off. And then it was like, here are these two guys. We don't need to know. I don't know what they're there for. I'm pretty sure it's going to build up to some kind of story. But this, to me, was their filler episode. And it was the longest episode out of all three. The first one was only 30 minutes. The second one was 47. This one's 51 minutes, I think.
Okay.
So almost an hour.
A long one. Yeah.
Right.
Wow.
Not a fan. You guys take it away from here.
I enjoyed every minute of it. My only real complaint is that it's basically two separate episodes that have nothing to do with each other, right? And you start off with one, and then you cut to the other one, and then at the end you cut back to the first one. And so it just feels clunky that way, because like it's this really exciting high octane, dogfight, and then it shifts gears really hard into like this completely different story. But I really liked going back to like these characters that like we, a little bit of world building, like what are these guys doing on the sidelines, right? I really liked the idea of like, of course they have some kind of reintegration program for the billions. The Empire was galactic, right? Like how many people work for the Empire? And they're trying to make it work. But at the same time, you see how the New Republic, is still a massive bureaucracy where things fall through the cracks, and is still trying to defend itself in its early years and is potentially making some of the same mistakes that, any large, powerful government makes when it's trying to shore up like its political identity, right? So like, there's a lot of stuff they're not letting them do that maybe normally they would, but they're so afraid of an imperial resurgence that they're clamping down a little tighter, right? Like using the brain wipe machine.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry. It's on a lower setting though. It's fine.
Only 10%. It's all good.
I mean, we still have the dial over here where you can turn it all the way up, but we're not going to use it. Don't worry.
Yeah. No. We won't. We definitely won't.
They should have a security camera or something on that dial just in case. But they show you the realities, because this is a reality I think of a lot of because like if you look at the Empire as essentially like it's a fascist government, right? Like a lot of countries post-fascism struggle with that, right? That's not a new thing. That's a typical, if you look at the history of any country that has fallen to some kind of authoritarian regime, they don't just defeat the bad guys and everything goes back to the way it was. And so it's interesting to me to see that. I also like the idea that like this guy genuinely, there's always that nerdy scientist in the corner who like, he's not really part of the movement, but he just wants to work on his science, and this gives him an opportunity to do it. And that's who this guy is. And that also, like, that's what makes him kind of dangerous, because he's willing to do it for pretty much anybody for almost any reason, right? And I like the symbolism of the little crackers. Just a nice way to be like, oh yeah, like yeah, you know, being part of a galactic death cult was bad, but there's things they miss, like the little crackers, right? Because
Yellow
it's
biscuits.
familiar. Yeah, because
Right.
for these people, right, the Empire would have been around their entire lives, given how old they are. So they've never known anything else. That was it. They grew up. They went to the Imperial Academy, like probably most people did, and then they joined the Imperial forces, like anyone did if they wanted to get ahead, at least, right? And now they're just struggling to function in a world that no longer has the one thing that structured their entire lives. So yeah, it is slow, but I didn't mind it. And I just wished, yeah, maybe they could have structured it better, because it was kind of jarring and awkward the way they kind of like just shoved it in the middle of this other story.
Great insights from the both of you. Before I continue, or before I give my take, I just want to appreciate Jupiter 7, because again, we have forgotten to just say, hey, thank you, Jupiter 7, for the intro and outro music.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Maybe you could stop calling us out and just do it and not make us look like idiots.
So here's the thing. I did it last time, and I was just like bombasted and excoriated for doing it. So, you know,
I think you're taking that out of context. No, that was not how it went down, but
okay.
Give us your take.
All right, my take. I think Jordan is correct. It felt clunky to me too. It felt awkward, but then I think there is a connection between the two stories. But the only way that we would know that is based off, in my opinion, the title of the episode, The Convert. It's basically it's two stories about converts, right? There's Bo-Katan, who accidentally, without her choice of it, became a convert. It's like, oh, I did this haphazardly, saving Jarin, and look at me. And I think that's a big deal. But then Dr. Pershing is like legitimately a convert. He realized, or in the beginning, he realized, yeah, no, I didn't like the Empire. I was only kind of like, I just wanted to get my science. And it was really tugging at my heart, because it's like, oh, dang, he's doing it for his mom who lost, who died. And it's just like, so that's all he's about. So he's genuinely like this loving, caring person. And you kind of, it seems like the way that he presents himself, he's just been beaten down by his previous like patronage of the Empire, or like the factions of these warring imperial clans and stuff like that. And now he just wants to do what he loves, and the new Republic doesn't want to. There's like, no, it's dangerous, and it's complicated, because understandably, the reason why the Republic fell is because of clones, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's all this intricate, nuanced dynamic that, as I think about it more, it was actually, for me, I enjoyed the episode. I enjoyed that Pershing kind of arc, I agree with Jordan. Like, it's a huge bureaucratic system. And so even though, wow, this is actually very different than what the Empire would do. Just like the guys who said it, like, yeah, you know what the Empire would do to us, kind of thing. Right. And so it's like, at least there's some kind of sense like, hey, we want you to get acclimated and come back and transition. But at the same time, it's still othering, right? It's just like, it's basically a prison, the amnesty residency, right? They can't go to certain areas. They don't even have names, which really bothered me. I was just like, oh, you're just these codes, L52, C something, It's like, all right, okay. And it's just like, yeah, it seems like at this surface level, it's like, oh no, we just, whatever the motivations of the New Republic is, we don't know, but it's just like, yeah, we just want to look like we're different than the Empire, but at the same time, it's still a prison, it's still othering.
Well,
and
it's the necessity though of running like because it's a republic, but it's still effectively like a giant government, and that necessitates doing certain things.
You're right.
And there's nothing they can do to avoid that. And so that's going to, like that's the challenge they have, because you can't have a galactic society without that kind of infrastructure, that overhead. And you just need to know where. I think the hard part is you just need to understand where the line is. Like, where's the line between like when does the Republic turn into an empire, right? So one of the few good things I can say about the prequel trilogy, right, is they do a pretty good job of portraying how a republic can turn into an empire, because it doesn't just happen all at once, right? It happens under the guise of them democratically choosing the emperor, right? Choosing to give Palpatine power, even though he's kind of also been manipulating everything behind the scenes. And in the same way, it's not like like I said, they don't just defeat the empire and suddenly, everyone's free again, right? Like it's not that clean. So yeah, you're right. It's still a prison. It's like a low security prison.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like what we saw in Andor. They're not going to like liquidate, because you're right. They would have like liquidated them, right? They would have just like dumped him into a sun or something, right? If it was the Empire. So like it's definitely better, but it's stressful enough. That's okay. So we mentioned in the last episode, right, that this show is very intentionally laying out a lot of like these religious overtones, right? So we start off with the heretic, now we have the convert. That's not new. This is the Mandalorian's always been talking about. This is my religion. Weapons are part of my religion, right?
Right.
And this show does something really interesting where it also kind of talks about. How do I put this? So basically, this guy goes to confession. Basically, he goes to like Catholic with a robot, right? He goes to like Catholic confession. And they're trying to figure out if he's like, regressing back to an imperial or whatever, right? Backsliding or whatever. And even though the intentions are clearly good, I can imagine if I was in that situation, it would feel very alienating. Be like, okay, once a week I got to go to this dark room and this robot is going to be like, are you thinking the right things? Are you feeling the right things? Like, oh, come on.
Not even the dignity of having a person. You got to speak to this like answering machine. You know what I mean? Like that's what it's like.
That's right. Droids in Star Wars are very flexible. Sometimes they're people, and sometimes they are basically just machines. And this one clearly isn't like that deep.
Right.
He's like, hey, can I do this thing that's illegal? And she's like, no, it's illegal. Do you have any other questions? It's like if there'd been a person there, they might have noticed like, hey, this guy looks, just look at him. He's having like a panic attack while talking to this robot. But I think what's interesting is when he asked, what does he say something about for the good of the empire? And she's like, that's the most important thing, the good of the empire. Yes. That really stood out to me. I'm not the empire, the republic, right? Mm-hmm. That stood out to me because I'm like, see, that is maybe the core of the issue here is he's replacing the empire with the republic.
Yeah.
But his way of thinking hasn't changed. Like he's still saying, well, anything is justified then for the good of the republic. So now he's willing to go and break the law and do shady shit, right? Because it's for the republic. He could have said that previously about the empire. Now he says the republic.
Oh, good point.
What you really need to change, right, is that way of thinking is like, no, actually, not everything is justified in the name of the republic or the empire or anything, right? That's because that's fanaticism, right? If you can say, for the sake of this thing, any action is justified, that's literally just fanaticism. That's what makes you into a terrorist, right? We're not talking about The Last of Us here, but it's hard not to think about it because that's the other show starring the same guy with similar plots and similar themes. And if you haven't seen the last episode, spoilers, the game's been out for like 8 years. So, okay. But yeah, Joel does something pretty extreme because he decides that Ellie is the most important thing. And once he's made that decision, anything he does is justified, right? To protect her. It doesn't matter what it is, right? And so in this case, I think that's part of the problem is like this guy's converted to the Republic, but he's still got this kind of quasi-religious way of thinking about it, where it's like, okay, but now this is my God, and anything is justified now in its name. And yeah, you're right. That does tie into a little bit into Bo-Katan. We don't see much of it, but they do imply like maybe her view of these more religious Mandalorians softens a bit because like, she's like, it feels a little bit like a homecoming, and I doubt she's going to fully commit. But
yes, I agree with you. Yeah.
So,
that being said, Jordan, that's a really good point. The fanaticism within it is still there. You know what I'm saying? And so before you said that, I thought, oh shoot, like the communications officer, I think her name is Kalia. I forgot her code name, but like, why is she doing what she just did right now, right? And so it's just like we don't know the motive, but like when I was seeing it, like from the very get-go, like the camera angling, the music, all that, like you can get a vibe that she's not there for good intention.
She's playing the whole time.
Right,
yeah.
exactly the whole time. So the question is why? Is she, maybe she's like, she knew about his fanaticism, and I was like, yeah, no, like that's not going to change, and we got to squash this, and raise up the mind flare to 100% full capacity? Or is it like a grudge, or is it, or
be
is
a plant too?
Yeah, she's
exactly.
an Imperial.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's an Imperial. They confirm that at the end. So she's yeah. Because she takes the gear, the scientific, the cloning stuff. Presumably she just wanted him so that she could figure out what stuff they would need to do whatever weird cloning stuff they're going to do.
I see. Yeah.
Right.
And she's not the only one.
She walks away with it.
Yeah, she just walks away with it. She's not the only one, because some of those security guards are in on it. But even if people aren't in on it, she's manipulating other people in the organization to do what she needs, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And at the very end, when she turns up the mind flayer, right, and she goes in and sneaks a little bite of her Imperial cracker, right? That really stood out to me, and I don't know if they mean this intentionally, but it's impossible for me not to see those crackers as like, what's the word for it? The little crackers in church.
Like communion. Communion wafer. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like,
that's it. That's
Imperial
very good.
communion wafers.
No, that's very good.
That show they use it to continue to show their commitment, right, to the cause.
Yep. Oh my gosh, that's great. That's a great insight right there.
Yeah, like he just missed it, but like she doesn't need those. And it's probably risky for her to carry it around in her pocket. But I feel like for her, it's like, it's so important to her psychologically, right? Like, I think she's a true believer. I think she's a true believer in the Empire. Okay. And I think she's working.
Yep.
I think what's happening is they're also kind of showing us the foundations of what would eventually become the, what is it called? In the sequels, the revived Empire.
First order. The First Order. Right. Yeah. So I got that sinking suspicion too, where it's like, oh, this is why Snoke happened. This is why all the other clones happened.
She worked directly with Moff Gideon too, so I bet Moff Gideon's still pulling some strings from within, because he's not dead.
No.
So he's trying to raise up his little empire he's working on. And you're right, maybe the beginning of the episode didn't go with it, but the question that like sticks in my head now is, where do all these TIE fighters come from? Those aren't just normal warlords. So there could be like this bigger background thing going on where the Empire is stronger than they think they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you go back to the comic books too, the Emperor still has like this decree that even though he's dead, he still wants like the Empire to move in a certain way, the ones that are still alive. So, I bet we're going to see that in live action. That would be pretty cool.
I think you're right. It does tie back together. And it's just the way it's framed here is awkward. Yeah, it's hard, like looking at this episode, that middle section is essentially a whole episode on its own. And I think they just decided, it's like, well, we can't just make a whole episode without the Mandalorian in it, where people just have conversations. So we got to put something in there at the beginning and the end.
So they bookend it. Yeah.
For people like me who have ADHD and we need to see some kind of explosion, like they did it for like that. That was for me. The first 15 minutes was for me. And they're like, okay, now we can tell the real story we want to tell.
Right.
Because no one's going to be bored, because at least they have this great fighter scene.
They're just thinking Andor is good, but nobody wanted to watch it. So we can't just do this. We can't just have intrigue and spies.
I'm just speculating here, but like, what if one time, like during editing, out of nowhere, Michael Bay shows up because he's like Jon Favreau's friend. Like he's looking at this episode, and I was like, hey, you know what, John? You know what you need here? Explosions. Where the hell are the explosions?
He doesn't say explosion. He goes, you know what you need? Boom. You need boom.
Yeah, that's
and then, like,
that's how he talks. He doesn't. Yeah, he never says explosion. More boom.
Onomatopoeia. That's all he's like. Screek.
Yeah.
But tell me this: that first 15 minutes, the fighter scenes, did that feel like Star Wars 2.0 or what? Like that felt like another level of Star Wars. It just felt nostalgic, but also like a better way of watching it. Like him just jumping out of a plane to get into another plane. That was just amazing stuff there.
I don't know about Star Wars 2.0. It just felt like Star Wars to me.
It felt like a better Star Wars.
A new
we haven't
Star
seen
Wars.
in a long time.
I mean, it felt
bigger,
like
really
faster,
harder.
Like they finally upgraded their fighter pilot scene. I mean, it was a great scene, great spaceship fight.
Well,
I loved it, man.
you could definitely see that they poured buckets of money
Yeah.
on this show.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I guess it's fine. Like the fight choreography is okay. It wasn't anything special. It clearly, yeah, money, a lot of money. I think what was most interesting is they do that thing where he jumps out of the ship, and the interceptors kind of fly around him as he's falling. That was pretty
Okay.
dope. And
So-
it's one of those things where like once you have the money to show Mandalorians using their jetpacks, you got like it's hard not to want to see stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah, they can do that. Why can't they do that? Sooner or later, they're going to do that in space. That's another thing. Star Wars doesn't do stuff. People don't go out into space in Star Wars. But like, yeah, they could probably do that now. I assume the Mandalorian suits are space, or some of them might be.
I mean, they're good in water.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you can survive
they should
underwater.
be. Yeah, they should be.
A nice little tie-in too that I didn't notice, but when you brought it up, Simon, Bo-Katan's house was destroyed, and those people of the Empire, their home was destroyed. They literally have no home. It's just a giant spaceship, right? They live on.
Right.
Their homes were destroyed. You got that correlation, and that, like you said, the end. Bo-Katan was welcomed to this new religion that she just fell upon, and
Right.
same with these guys. That's a really cool setup there.
One thing that they sneak in at the end is she sees there's a skull on the wall. Is that supposed to be the skull of the Mythosaur?
That's the Mythosaur skull. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. So here's a question I have. Okay, I thought it was really suspicious when he asked Din Djarin, "Hey, did you see anything in there?" It's like, "No, I fell in a chasm." Are you sure? It's like, what is this? What is this questioning? It's like, it's interesting that she's not telling him
Right.
what she saw, and I'm wondering, when we talked about it in episode 2, I think the Mythosaur is a key figure. I think at that moment when she's like, oh, okay, that's a big deal, and then she gets welcomed into this extreme fundamentalist group, I was like, oh, maybe I can unite the factions again.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing.
Without Din Djarin.
There's a nice way to think of it and a less charitable way to think of it. It's like maybe she will gain some appreciation for the old ways and then find a way to unite all the factions. Or maybe she's just thinking, oh, I can use this. Right?
Yeah.
I can gain these people's
leaning,
loyalty. I have an army now that's committed to me, not for practical reasons, but for religious reasons.
Yeah.
So they won't abandon her once they believe in her.
They're zealots,
and then I can go back there and I can defeat the Mythosaur, right, and refound the Mandalorian Empire or whatever, right? And I'm leaning towards that interpretation because so far Bo-Katan has proven that she's too cynical, I think, to really genuinely believe in anything without looking at it as something she can leverage, right? I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. Like maybe there will be an arc for her, but in her current state, I think that she's probably looking at this as an opportunity.
I think so. Yeah. I think you're right. I was actually leaning towards that interpretation too. So, and again, maybe the foreshadowing is just like with the Darksaber, how like Din Djarin kind of accidentally got it. I was like, well, F this. You know what I'm saying? I'm done. And then like Din Djarin just happens to defeat the Mythosaur out of he defeats the Mythosaur because it's gonna kill Grogu. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yep, all right. This is it.
I don't think I think she's gonna defeat the Mythosaur.
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna be Mandalorian.
Yeah, I suspect it's gonna be her. I mean, it's not impossible that it's not impossible it could even be Grogu himself using the Force.
Bro.
But I don't know. I feel like this is her. This whole thing, the Mythosaur and the history of the Mandalorians, feels like Bo-Katan's story. Yeah. Not someone else's story. So it would be a little bit weird to me.
I see.
If they like sort of give that to somebody else.
Okay.
And I feel
I'm still
like
putting. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say I feel like the Mandalorian has already proven, like, okay, so I mentioned, The Last of Us. Key difference between these two characters played by Pedro Pascal, right? The Mandalorian keeps saying that this is the way, this is religion, it's the most important thing. But he was willing to break from the way to save Grogu that one time, right?
Yep.
He's not so committed to his religion that he will follow it to a fault.
Right.
He's not, in other words, he's not a fanatic, right? And so, yeah, I feel like there is a different potential path for him that is less orthodox, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Because he's already out there flying this ship around. He's not a bounty hunter anymore. He's got like a little Jedi, baby. He's hanging out.
That's
yeah,
it.
like
that.
he's already heterodox in the sense that he's just too keyed into the world outside of Mandalorian culture at this point, and has too many friends outside of Mandalorian culture. I don't see him just wanting to. Yeah.
So his creed is flexible and malleable. It bends a little bit, or it can move around. It's flowing.
I think he just never forgets why the creed exists in the first place.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
When they get there, what's her name? The lady, the leader of their little tribe, right?
Armor.
Armor, yeah. She says, "Oh, Bo-Katan, yeah, have you're now part of our tribe." He's like, "But I don't walk the way." And she's like, "Well, you bathe in the waters, though, right?" He's like, "Yeah." "Have you taken your helmet off since then?" She's like, "No." "Okay, then you're fine."
You're in.
As long as you keep your helmet on, you're fine. I'm like, she literally doesn't care about what Bo-Katan really thinks or what she just like,
right.
Look, are you following the rules? That's all she cares about.
That's good. That's a good point. Yeah. Nice.
Mando is not that, right? The creed exists for a reason, and I think he never forgets what those reasons are. And so if the creed conflicts with the values that it was created to defend, then he's willing to break the creed, right? Like that's, yeah.
I think the leader of the Mandalorians, what's her name? I don't remember her name. She might have some kind of autism, right? Like she's just
Bo-Katan?
No, the armored lady.
Okay.
She might have some kind of autism. She's never excited about anything. She never shows any kind of emotion. She only speaks facts and or religious facts and laws. She doesn't get overexcited about anything. They don't hold a conversation about anything other than what they need to do.
What the creed is,
right?
yeah.
Right. So she is totally autistic.
So she's like, she's like, she's inflexible, right?
Yeah.
It's like the big Mandalorian Vizsla just comes and says, "Hey man, it's a good day today out of the cave." Yeah, this reminds me of the creed. It says here the creed.
Everything all comes back to the
armor.
creed, right?
Yeah. You know what? This is a perfect example of what the creed says.
Right? We're never
You've
happy.
met pastors like that. You've met religious leaders.
So she's a church lady. She's one of those church ladies.
And she wears a freaking skirt like a church. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So
apostolic skirts.
Yeah. The helmet is the big giant hat. Church 24/7.
So you guys have seen, the sitcom about a school in Philadelphia,
Abbott Elementary.
Abbott Elementary. Yeah, there's a character on
I'm not
there.
watching it yet.
She's a church lady. In the first episode, she introduces herself. She's like, what's her name? I forget her name, but she just introduces herself as Woman of God. Right, and it's just this recurring theme where every conversation, church comes up somehow.
There you go.
Her church group, potluck, women's group, something. She's always just church stuff, just a church lady. Yeah,
and this is the armor. We found it.
Nice. I haven't met someone like that who called themselves woman of God or man of God. Yeah, okay, we get it.
Yeah, everything is about that one thing. Everything in their life is about that one thing.
Yeah, I would have enjoyed it more if it was one or the other. I didn't like that they were both connected because it gave me like false sense of direction.
Right.
The beginning of the episode, and then I was just like, and I text you guys. You said I text Mike. I was like excited, like first 10 minutes of the show is amazing, blah blah blah. Then after
this is Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like this is Star Wars, and it's just like
never mind.
Line the rest of the show. No excitement, just a dial. I was like, oh man. But now that I hear us talking about it, there were some things I enjoy. I liked it. I liked it after all. But I think it's just the way it was just put together. It makes sense now, but it's still.
Like I said, the only reason why it makes sense is just the title of an episode. That's the only reason why it makes sense for me.
Yeah. This is probably. I don't want to say it's not as good as the last two because I think it is in terms of its like writing and acting and everything, but yeah, it's definitely not as entertaining because it is just like a lot of setup, for for stuff that sounds like it'll be really interesting, but we're still waiting.
So outside of the story, like one of the things I noticed in the credits is that and I guess I have to look back in the previous seasons, but Rick Famuyiwa or Fumiwia, I'm probably whoops, I really butchered his name, but he's a consistent executive producer in every episode so far. I'm wondering if this is kind of his vision, and if so, give him more projects, because I think he has the eye, he has the sight, he has the sight. But anyways, I just want to just give him props for just if he's really heavily involved in this right. project. I think we have a talent here. So
right. The thing is, like, this season so far, and probably all seasons, like there's a separation to the feel and the flow of each season. It's not the same, and I appreciate that. I think a lot, because it could become mundane. Like, I already seen this. Like, I feel like I already know this.
Exactly.
This is not it at all. Like, you're always like, what the hell does that to do with anything? You know what I mean? Like, this episode wasn't as entertaining, but I'm like, what the hell does that to do with the rest of the show? Like, there has to be something, setting up something bigger, you know what I mean, for the rest of the season. So
So we'll find out.
So Rick Famuyiwa,
thank you.
Right? He wrote and directed a bunch of like these indie films. He wrote and directed Dope. I don't know if you guys saw that.
No.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
it's a good movie.
Yeah, it is a good movie.
He was an executive producer on The Chi.
Oh, okay.
He's done, and he hasn't done that much, but yeah, he's directed 4 episodes of The Mandalorian. He's written and directed 2, executive produced 8. So yeah, he's pretty involved in this.
Yeah. So I mean, I feel this is like, okay, first season was great, second season okay, kind of like level. Third, this is exciting to me. I'm really enjoying it, and like I said, I'm wondering if is it Rick Famuyiwa?
You've already forgotten?
I did. I was just like,
I'm not. You know what? I'm not even gonna help you now. I tried. I tried.
All right, you did.
I looked him up on Wikipedia. I said his name twice.
I'm so sorry.
You're on your own now. You're on your own.
He's great. All I'm just saying, he's great. RF, you're the Met. Anyways, we're good.
Well, anybody else has anything else to add at all?
No, I think we're good.
All right, guys. Thanks for watching episode 3 of the Mandalorian recap and our opinions on that. So with that, we'll see you guys soon. I don't know when the next episode's coming out. Saturday? Sunday?
Saturday.
See you guys Saturday.
Right.
Say your thing.
Oh, that's right. You guys don't have to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here.
Okay.
Thank you, Juniper 7.
J7.